So in this video, I'm going to be giving an update on my Vanguard and InvestEngine investment portfolio. In my last video, which was back in November 2024, I had roughly around £83,000 invested across my Vanguard and InvestEngine portfolio. So in this video, we're going to see how my two portfolios have performed since then. But before we get into the video, what a year 2024 has been for investors. With the S&P 500 up by about 26% year on year, 2024 would definitely be a year to remember. And once again, it has reminded us that investors will always beat savers. In 2024 in the UK, the average high yield savings account would have earned you anywhere between 4 and 5%, meaning you would have earned between 4 and 5% interest on any cash that you put into a high yield savings account. Whereas instead, if you were to put that cash into, for example, an ETF that tracks the S&P 500, your portfolio would have grown by over 26%. Now, it's important to realize that the stock market doesn't always go up by 26% year on year. And of course, when you're investing your cash, your money is at risk. But as long as your strategy is to invest over a long period of time, statistically speaking, you will always be better off by investing your money as opposed to saving your money. I'm sure you've heard of this saying before, but you just can't save your way to wealth. So anyway, in this video, I'm going to be diving into both my Vanguard and InvestEngine stock market investment portfolios. And as always, I'm going to show you the ins and outs, how much I've made, how much I've lost. So let's kick things off, starting with my Vanguard investment portfolio. So I've just logged into Vanguard, and as you can see, I currently have £82,015.74 sitting in my Vanguard portfolio. The majority of this money is in the US equity index fund. If you've been following my investment portfolio journey for a while now, you know that I like to keep my investment portfolio as simple as possible. So I actually only hold two funds in my Vanguard portfolio. The first fund is the US equity index fund. You can see that my current allocation to the US equity index fund is 74.66%. And this one fund has returned me £15,055.76. If you don't know what the US equity index fund, it's very similar to the S&P 500. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the S&P 500, which of course tracks 500 of the largest companies in the US. But the beauty of the US equity index fund is that it tracks everything that the S&P 500 tracks, but it also includes medium and small cap size companies as well. So I really like this fund because it's extremely diversified. It includes about 3,800 stocks. And yeah, it's worked wonders for me over the years. I've been investing into this fund every month for the past 23 months, and I will continue to invest into this fund every month. And the second fund in my portfolio, as you can see, is the FTSE Global All Cap Index Fund. I currently have 25.33% of my portfolio allocated to this fund. And this one fund has returned me £3,185.82. So now let's head over to the performance tab and see how my investment portfolio has performed over the months. Just before we get into the monthly breakdown, as you can see, I have contributed £62,831.71 of my own money. This is basically the amount of deposits I've put into my Vanguard portfolio ever since I started the account. And as a result of investing that money, I have made £19,183.04. I set myself a goal to hit a £20,000 return by the end of 2024. Unfortunately, I didn't reach that goal, but I still am very happy with the amount that my portfolio has returned me overall. And it's these two numbers added together, the amount of contributions that I've made to my account, along with the investment return, that give me my final total portfolio balance of £82,014.74. And then this works out to give me a rate of return of 51.44%. I tend to not focus too much on this rate of return percentage because it is a time-weighted return and it can be slightly misleading. So in order to work out my actual ROI, I just divide my investment return by my total contributions, and I'll put what that figure is up on the screen somewhere because I can't be bothered to do the maths right now. And then scrolling down to my chart, this is what you want your portfolio to look like. As you can see, as the days, weeks, and months have gone on, my portfolio has gone up and up and up. And of course, this is a result of consistent deposits into my Vanguard account, as well as the returns that my investment funds are making me. But the moment you've all been waiting for, let's head over to the month tab and let's see exactly how much my Vanguard portfolio has made me on a month-by-month basis. So what a strong start to the year. In January already, my investment portfolio has returned me £1,630.56. This is actually really nice to see because December was a bit of a red month after a few months of consistent gains. So it's nice to see that we're back in the green again. As you can see, in December, unfortunately, it was a red month and I lost £1,190.53. In November, this was my best investing month ever. I made £5,201.93. This was an absolutely fantastic month for investors, especially those invested heavily into US-based stocks. Another strong month in October. In October, I made £2,193.12. In September, a bit of a rocky month, but we ended up netting £61.63. In August, again, not much movement. I actually made a loss of £87.13. In July, again, not too much movement, but at least we were in the green. I made £189.54. A really good month in June. I made £2,149.64. Once again, another good month in May, £1,617.69. April was a bit of a rocky month, £1,959.76 in the red. In March, I made £1,821.69. February, again, a good month, £2,981.61. And then rewinding all the way back to January last year, I made £559.48. From the start to the end of the year, I ended up netting about £14,000 just from my Vanguard portfolio alone, and I am very, very pleased with how my portfolio has performed. On a separate note, if you're a Vanguard customer, then you should have received an email from Vanguard last month stating that there will be a change in their pricing structure coming into play from the 31st of January 2025. Here's what's changing. So if you have less than £32,000 invested in your Vanguard account, you will now have to pay a £4 monthly compulsory fee to continue using their platform. If you have more than £32,000, then you have absolutely nothing to worry about. The pricing structure stays exactly the same, so you will continue to be charged an annual account management fee of 0.15%, which will be taken out quarterly. But for those who have less than £32,000 invested, you might want to consider going to a different platform that doesn't charge fees. Personally, I recommend InvestEngine. I actually use InvestEngine myself, and I will show you my portfolio in a moment. But if you would like to join InvestEngine, just head over to the link in my bio. And if you download the app through my referral link, you'll get a nice welcome bonus of up to £100 when you invest your first £100. And I think that's a really great incentive for any beginner to join the platform. So anyway, let's head over to InvestEngine and see how my portfolio is performing over there. With InvestEngine, my total balance is currently sitting at £10,309.57, of which I have made a gain of £849.57. For those that follow me on Instagram, I only started this portfolio in January 2024 last year, and as you can see, I've already grown it to over £10,000 in the space of 4 months. Now, of course, the majority of this comes down to me being able to deposit quite a lot of money into the portfolio, but nonetheless, I'm still happy with a total return of £849.57. So diving into my stocks and shares ISA portfolio, let's see what's going on here. So my InvestEngine stocks and shares ISA portfolio is sitting at £10,200.03, of which I've got 3p in cash. If we scroll slightly down to my graph, you can see things only really picked up from about October. So I was breaking even pretty much up until October, and in October is where things started to grow. You can see from the green line, that's my return, and then the blue line is my actual contributions and my deposits. And you can see that's really where I started to actually get in the green and start making positive returns. And then from there, it just went up and up and up, right through to January, where my total return in this stocks and shares ISA is now £850.03. So scrolling down to my actual investments, once again, I always like to keep my investing strategy as simple as possible. So in this portfolio, I'm only investing in 3 ETFs. The first is a global ETF called the Invesco FTSE All World, ticker code FWRG. I currently have £5,362.63 invested in this fund, of which £346.94 is the return from this fund, which works out to give me a time-weighted return of 10.39%. The second fund in my InvestEngine stocks and shares ISA portfolio is VUAG, which of course is a famous S&P 500 ETF. I currently have £3,402.35 invested into this fund, and this fund has returned me £322.57, leaving me with a time-weighted return of 11.08%. which I think is a great investment if you ask me. And just a quick reminder, I only started this portfolio in August, so a return of 11.08% in 4 months. I'm very happy with my investment here. And then lastly, we have the X-Trackers Nasdaq 100. I currently have £1,435.02 invested in this fund, and this fund has returned me £167.42, leaving me with a time-rated return of 13.11%. And that's just my luck, isn't it? The fund that I have the least invested in has returned me the most, or has performed the best, should I say. So overall, I'm very, very happy with the 3 funds that I have in my InvestEngine Stocks and Shares ISA portfolio. Unfortunately, I can't actually add any more money into this Stocks and Shares ISA portfolio because I've already maxed out my annual ISA allowance. If we just head over back to the front screen of InvestEngine, you can see here that it says I actually have a remaining allowance, a remaining ISA allowance of £10,650. Now, this doesn't take into account the contributions that I've made already this financial tax year into my Vanguard ISA account. So across both of these 2 accounts, I've already invested my full £20,000 allowance. Even though, of course, in InvestEngine, it still says I have a remaining allowance, I have maxed out my annual allowance. So I actually can't contribute any more to my ISA account, which leads us very nicely into introducing you to my InvestEngine SIPP portfolio. So I've recently just started this SIPP account. And of course, like I mentioned, I can't actively invest into my Stocks and Shares ISAs anymore until the new annual ISA allowance renews in April. So for the remainder of between now and then, I'll be investing into my InvestEngine SIPP account. As you can see, I currently have £109.54 invested in this SIPP account. And if we scroll down slightly, you can see all of this money is just invested in one fund, the Invesco FTSE All World. And the strategy that I'm using for my SIPP account is even simpler than my Stocks and Shares ISA. So in my SIPP account, my plan is just to invest in one fund, and that's a global tracking ETF to minimize my risk as much as possible and be diversified as much as possible. So unfortunately, I'm at a slight loss of 42p. Am I worried about this? Absolutely not. I actually currently have about £59, just short of £60 in cash. So as soon as the stock market opens on Monday morning, I'll probably just invest that cash and again, buy straight into the Invesco FTSE All World. So yeah, that summarizes my InvestEngine portfolio. Once again, if you want to sign up to InvestEngine, if you use the link that I'm going to leave in the description, you can get a free welcome bonus of up to £100 once you invest your first £100. So that wraps up my stock market investment portfolio update for January 2024. Across both Vanguard and InvestEngine, I currently have £92,325.31 invested. We're slowly getting closer to £100,000 invested. I just want to say I really do appreciate all the love and support I've received since starting to document my investment portfolio journey. I really do hope that I'm motivating and inspiring as many young people to get started on their investing journey. And if you're new here, welcome aboard. I just love making these videos because I love inspiring and motivating young people to really think about personal finance and really understand the importance of investing from a young age. So if you could leave a like, I'd really appreciate that. If you leave a comment, I would love that. And if you subscribe, that would absolutely make my day. But that's all for this episode, folks. I'll be back here next month for another Vanguard and InvestEngine portfolio update video. Peace out.